Are you still relying on your gut feeling when betting? Then the bookmaker is already getting ready to cash in. It's time for strategies instead of luck. We provide well-founded insights into the truth and show you how to become one of the 1% who make legitimate profits. Whether it's with match betting, sure bets, or value betting. sportsbettingacademy.com.
Hello, my name is Daniel Winterholzinger. I am a sports betting researcher and founder of the Sports Betting Academy. The Sports Betting Academy trains people worldwide in the field of sports betting. And the focus is on mathematically proven strategies, market analysis, and transparent education. And today I have prepared a topic for you that is all about value combination bets. And if you truly understand the extreme advantage this approach offers, to show you this in more detail, I have prepared it very thoroughly on my screen. Watch the video in its entirety. And feel free to leave a like here as well. And also feel free to write me a comment. Let's get started. In another video, I have already explained what value bets are. Basically, I'll link that again above in this video. And now I want to show you the power that a combination bet with value odds can have for you and what that actually means. Here you can see a bookmaker. I have prepared this with 2 different bookmakers. The great thing about this approach is that you can do it with almost any bookmaker, as long as you understand the right steps to take. I've carefully picked out 2 excellent examples for this comprehensive training video, and the very first bookmaker we're going to be looking at here is none other than Merkur Bets, where we have a thrilling rugby match currently underway. Here, as you can clearly see, the formidable team of Van is playing against the equally strong team of Montemazan, promising an exciting and competitive game. Yeah, I don't know any of these teams, and honestly, I'm not really interested in them. But what is interesting to me now is the offer. And I scrutinize a bookmaker's offer very critically. That means I don't just accept any odds that are offered to me. And this attitude already changes a lot when it comes to sports betting. The general public bets because they think they know what's going to happen and accept any odds. Someone who wants to approach sports betting differently, like I do, for example, and like many of our dynamists do, actually sees the challenge and the thrill in trying to get back more in the long run from betting situations than they originally invested. And for that, we have to dive much deeper into the subject than just being a fan. We have to go much deeper into the topic here, what probability is, what an offered betting odd is, and where the fair betting odd lies. And here, for example, you can see that it's about the type of bet. For example, a handicap 1 minus 26.5. That means an absolute favorite is playing against an underdog here. And for this bet to be correct, the home team has to win by a margin of 27 points. And now we see here again that every row you see here, these are all different bookmakers. Back here, we can also see the respective odds for identical situations. And these odds are again extremely diverse. They vary widely here. Merkur Bets, for example, offers us odds of 1.9, whereas this one bookmaker down here only offers us odds of 1.5. And these are simply extreme differences. And there it is now. Methods and models, including software programs on the market that support and help us understand when a rate is too high and where the fair value for this situation should actually lie. Based on all the information currently available on the market, the second game I have prepared is the game Napoli vs Parma. Here, for example, I'm interested in the betting offer Asian handicap 1 minus 1.5. That means the home team has to win by 2 goals difference. The team must win the game for this bet to be correct. The odds being offered to me here by Merkur Bets are 2.35 for this one betting situation. But we also see many other betting providers here who have the same game, the same betting situation. But here, for example, the odds are much lower than those in this case. Merkur Bets. I have prepared this with many of them. We see 126 different betting providers here. It's on my list. I check this for myself, I scan this for myself, I compare it on the market. Because a layperson, an amateur who loses a lot of money on sports betting, who loses tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of euros, does not take this step. They go with their gut feeling, they follow their ego, they take the step of thinking, I'm right. This model is a purely mathematical process, just as you see it here. Here we check, based on all the offers on the market and all the betting providers, where the fair probability of occurrence is, roughly speaking. What odds result from that? And now I want to show you something. What happens when we combine these two betting situations? What actually happens when I combine one value bet with a second value bet? And I've prepared this for you here. Here we can see these two bets again at the top. And back here, you can also see the respective probabilities and the respective overvaluations from each individual betting situation. The first thing I need to understand here, in order to improve, is to recognize and determine, well, where is the fair odds in this case? If this probability is determined by the software based on all the offers on the market, and this comparison takes place here, what would be considered fair from the perspective of this software? We can then see that the fair odds can be derived from this. For example, here I have it at 58.5%. If I now derive the fair odds here, it's 1.71%. That means this odds reflects 58.5%. 47.3% means that this would be fair here, 2.11. And now we can clearly see that if I combine these two individual games, I will get a comprehensive total odds figure of 4.46. But if we now calculate the probabilities, how likely is it that this combination bet will occur? To do this, we have to multiply the respective fair probabilities of occurrence with each other. If I calculate 58.5% times 47.3%, I get a result of 27.67%. So according to this software, according to this perception, that's how likely it is that this combination bet can occur. And if I now derive the fair odds from these 27.3%, 60.67%, then I get the fair value, 3.61. This means that if I were only offered odds of 3.61 here, then in the long run, I would neither make a profit nor a loss. That's the first thing you need to understand. Because the bookmaker is now offering us total odds of 4.46 for this combination, which is clearly above the fair value of 3.61. And below here, you can see the value bet calculator from the Sports Betting Academy. And here I can now enter the values. The odds, 4.46. And below that, I can enter. So how likely is it that this combination bet will actually happen? That would be, in this case, 27.67%. And you can see here that this fair odds value is also represented by 27.67%. And below that, we now see that the value content is 23.41%. And that's world-class if you have such an advantage for your betting situation. It's important to understand that you won't win every bet here, but you have to look at it in the long term. You have to look at it over many hundreds, even thousands of bets. And that's where probability and counter probability can simply balance each other out. That means here we only have, in quotation marks, a 27% probability of occurrence. So there is also a very high counter probability that this combination bet will not win. And I've already explained that in another video. Please take a thorough look at that, especially when it comes to the topic of value bets. Here, the point is just to show you that instead of a single bet where we had an advantage of just under 11%, we now have a massive advantage of over 23%. And this particular approach is especially interesting and highly relevant for participants coming from Germany in particular, or also for participants in Austria, where we already have a betting tax in place of 5%, which is very interesting. Because most people suffer when it comes to sports betting. When it comes to sports betting, if you understand it better, it means that you have to pay a betting tax. And with single bets, sometimes it's mathematically almost impossible to cover the betting tax and still generate a profit for yourself. And for that, you need a higher overall advantage in your approach. And many people are currently solving this exactly through so-called value problems, combination bets, so that they create a higher overall advantage that way, in order to, on the one hand, beat the betting tax and fundamentally also beat the bookmaker. Now I'll show you a second example from real life.
You still rely on your gut feeling when betting. Then the bookmaker is already getting ready to cash in. Time for strategies instead of luck. We provide you with well-founded, truthful information and show you how to become part of the 1% who make legitimate profits. Whether it's with matched betting, sure bets, or value bets. sportsbettingacademy.com.
My second case study was set up here with Tipico. For example, here we see this basketball game where we're being offered an Asian handicap. 1 minus 11.5 including overtime. The odds are 2.20 for this situation. This means that the home team has to win by 12 points for this bet to be correct. But we also see, as we continue, if I now compare this with all the other bookmakers in the market where they are positioned, that means here we see $1.99, which is already on this side, the lowest odds, and 2.20 is already the highest odds here, odds which are being offered here. The second game I have prepared is Club Brugge versus Gent, women's football, Belgium. And here, for example, the bet is offered that the away team will not score a goal. And here, Tipico offers us odds of 1.50. If we compare this again with all the others on the market, we will find that down here, for example, this bookmaker only offers odds of 1.31. And here again, we see significant differences in the assessments of the various betting providers on the market. If we now combine these two games again, it looks as follows. Here you can see the graphical representation of this situation again. Up here, we can see the probability once again. That means the first game, based on all the information currently available on the market, is rated at 50.3% probability. And the second game at 69.10%. If we derive the fair betting odds from these probabilities, then for the first game, we get the odds of 1.99 is fair, and for the second game, the odds of 1.45 is fair. If we now carefully combine these two distinct games and then proceed to multiply their respective probabilities, we will ultimately arrive at a precise probability of occurrence that this specific combination bet will indeed be correct, standing at a significant 34.75%. And if we use these 34.75% to determine the fair betting odds, we get a fair odds of 2.88 for the combination bet. If we look at this now and combine these two bets with each other, and if we use the odds of 2.20 and 1.50, then that gives us a total odds of 3.30. And so this odds of 3.30 is again higher than 2.88. If we then enter this down here into the value bet calculator, you can see here I enter the odds at the top, 3.30. Below that, I enter the probability. I enter how likely it is that this combination bet will occur at 34.75%. And we see that the value content of this combination bet is again at 14.67%. The nice and interesting thing here is that this combination bet, even if I have to pay a betting tax, is still sufficient overall to be able to be profitable in the long run, to be able to do so. And with many bookmakers, it's also the case that if you place combination bets, they will cover the betting tax for you. So it makes the most sense here, especially if I have bookmakers who charge a betting tax on single bets, to structure my approach as two-leg combination bets, combining two value odds together. And so I no longer have to pay the betting tax, which is 5.3% in Germany, for example, and still have a much, much higher overall value than if I were to place a single bet. If you'd like to see more analyses like this from me, then I invite you to sign up for my newsletter for free. You'll find a link in the video description where you can get a You can set up free access to the Sports Betting Academy and simply enter your email address here so that we can stay in touch. That way, every time I release a new video, you'll be notified by me and also receive other information from me related to sports betting and how to approach it more professionally. Thank you again for your attention and for tuning in today. I wish you much success, all the best, and see you in the next video. Ciao.